Rated M for mature.
On this special edition of Playing Dead, we'll be discussing the recently announced DLC for Walking Dead Season 1 called 400 Days. I'm your host, AJ Locascio, and this is Playing Dead. So, guys, thank you for being here today. Today I'm joined by Sean Ainsworth and Harrison Pink. Can you guys tell me, what did you do on The Walking Dead 400 Days?
I was the games director, and I wrote some of it.
And I was one of the two game designers on the project, the other one being Mark Darren.
So 400 Days is a DLC. Can you explain to me, what does that mean exactly?
Well, it's an additional episode that comes after Season 1.
So do you need to have played the full season in order to enjoy it?
You don't have to have played the entire season, although it's recommended. We think that the experience is way better if you finish the entire season first.
Why is it called 400 Days? That's an intriguing name.
We ended up coming up with 400 days because that's the span of time the episode takes place over. We wanted to do something a little different, so we thought, telling a really huge, expansive story was a nice way to go.
So will this story have anything to do with Lee and Clementine?
I don't think so.
Not directly, no.
Yeah, it definitely takes place in the same world.
Right.
Familiar areas. It'll feel very similar in a lot of ways.
What made you guys decide to do that as opposed to continuing the story of Lee and Clementine?
We got together after Season 1 was finished, and we said, we're going to do this downloadable content, and what is that going to be? And I think all of us are really excited about the idea of just doing something different, trying to kind of not do the same thing. I mean, that's what Season 2 is for, right? I mean, we're going to go into Season 2 and continue the story started in Season 1.
Right.
So we thought, if we're going to do this, let's touch on what we already know, but then we'll go off on a completely new direction and just kind of do some really exciting different stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to do it in such a way that it made sense for it to sort of live as its own entity. We didn't want to just feel like, oh, here's an additional thing.
Right.
We really wanted it to be powerful and important in its own right. And we didn't think that just continuing a story that had finished so successfully was the right way to do that.
So can you guys tell me anything about the episode? Is there anything different about this specific episode?
You play as 5 separate people throughout the episode.
And as you play these 5 different people, their stories sort of intertwine in really interesting ways over that sort of 400-day period. You can actually play each of the short stories in any order that you want, and they'll still sort of connect up in the order that you play them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like DuckTales.
It is exactly like DuckTales.
It's exactly like DuckTales.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an anthology, right? We've seen Creepshow or something like that, where you have just different stories, except that these stories do intermingle. Like Creepshow is one thing, and there's a frame story. These are 5 stories that sort of overlap.
Right.
There are actually 27 characters in the episode.
Yeah,
it's a lot of guys.
We crammed a lot of new characters into this episode. Just aside from the 5 characters you play, you meet obviously a host of interesting people in their journeys. So.
That's a lot of people to love.
Yep.
Or hate. And it's actually kind of crazy. It's because for us, it's a lot. I mean, we don't normally have that many people in one episode.
A whole season or something.
Right.
We have about I think it's like 70% of our character count for this episode is the entirety of Season 1 of The Walking Dead. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is it longer than another episode, or is it?
I think it's about the same length.
Yeah, it's roughly the same length.
Yeah. So obviously, there's 5 separate short stories, so they all sort of cram together to make the length of a normal episode of Walking Dead.
So does decision-making play in the same way as it did in the whole Season 1? Is it going to affect the outcome of, the episode?
Definitely in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. It's similar but different.
Yeah.
The way that the decision-making plays out in this episode.
It's similar but different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
You have these 5 short stories, so we wanted to make sure that choices mattered over a larger sort of period of time than 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes in a short story. So we had to, we've come up with interesting ways of having these stories overlap in ways that your choices will matter from one story to the next.
Also, we don't really have the time in short story to build up the emotional payoffs that you would normally build in a season.
Right.
A lot of these are trying to get to know these people very quickly and then sort of have to just make a decision. They do come back and affect things throughout the episode.
Okay, so I was going to ask, will the choices that we've made in season 1 affect 400 Days, and will the decisions that we make in 400 Days affect season 2?
The choices that you made in season 1 will come into play in 400 Days. And then the events of 400 Days may or may not come into play in season 2.
Okay.
May or may not.
Depending.
Depending on your choices.
Yeah.
Did you guys learn anything from season 1 that you implemented into 400 Days?
There's a lot of things that we learned from things that people really liked in season 1.
Right.
Similar to that, just what mechanics did people really, appreciate, and just sort of massaging those and adding things in that are similar to those, but really new ways to interact with the game that we haven't tried yet that I think people are going to really like.
Will you guys be releasing 400 Days on the same platform as season 1? Are we going to see anything new, maybe?
It's going to be on all the platforms that season 1 was on, and additionally, from what I hear, season 1 is going to be available on the PlayStation Vita. So, and it's going to be have all the touch controls and all the touch sensitivity that the Vita has enabled. All our sort of tech wizards figured all that stuff out, and I think that if you buy season 1, you also get 400 Days in that package on the Vita.
So, when do you guys plan on releasing 400 Days?
This summer.
Yep, not a long wait at all.
So, how much is the DLC going to cost?
$4.99.
That's it?
Just like a regular episode.
Yep, regular episode.
And finally, the big question is there anything you guys can tell us about season 2?
It's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. That's all I can say.
There's cool stuff a-brewing.
Yeah.
That's
cool stuff
it?
abounds.
Yeah.
That's all you can tell me?
Unfortunately so.
Tell me something.
Got to get
It's
Nick and
on
Nick
its
and
way.
It's on its way.
I can tell you that much.
So thank you guys for being on the show. And Sean, thank you for your beard.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate
glad.
it. So there you have it. 400 Days is coming out. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and let us know what you guys think of 400 Days and what your hopes are for season 2. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon on Playing Dead.
Getting people's goat is always fun. That's not a euphemism.
Getting people's goat?
Yeah.
That was close. Got your goat.